The GallowgateShots podcast is sponsored by Tyre Spot, the North East's leading tyre supplier with branches across the region. Tyre Spot don't just do tyres, they cover everything from servicing to wheel alignment. They can handle every aspect of your car's maintenance. For more information, visit tyrespot.co.uk. Enjoy the episode.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the GallowgateShots YouTube and podcast channel. We are back with another match preview. The last one didn't go to plan because the game didn't happen, but we thought we'll still continue anyway. Hopefully it wasn't a jinx, but we'll do this one for the Man City game. I'm Scott, I am your host for this one, and this week I am joined by Iain and Nichol. Boys, let's hope this game goes ahead. Oh no, I don't know. Do we want this game to go ahead?
It's kind of why I've come on, because that was my first one of the season that's got the game postponed. So I'm kind of fingers crossed hoping that same outcome happens.
Maybe they'll get dissolved by this lawsuit that's going to happen by the end of it. Maybe there will be no Man City by the end of the week. We'll see what happens. Yeah, it is the match preview for the Man City game. It's Saturday, the 28th of September. It's a 12:30 p.m. kickoff early doors at St. James's Park. I mean, it's Man City. We all know the story by now. They're top of the league. It's 13 points, 4 wins, 1 draw, 0 defeats, 13 goals scored. And I think they've all, bar 3 of them, been scored by Erling Haaland. That's 5 goals conceded, and they're on a +8 goal difference. I do have some commentator stats. They don't make for that great reading, but I will read them out anyways. Newcastle have won just 1 of their last 33 Premier League games against Manchester City. That's 5 draws and 27 defeats. Their last victory was a 2-1 home win in January 2019 under Rafa Benitez. I do believe it was a Matt Ritchie goal. I do believe I was in Russia when that game was being played with work. I wasn't on any Renaissance missions or anything like that. Yes, but yeah, that was a long time ago. And yeah, I mean, like I say, 33 games without a win. 1 win in 33 is a horrible record. Man City have scored in each of their last 31 Premier League games against Newcastle. That's the longest scoring streak one team has against another team in the competition's history. So, as I've said, every match preview this season, don't let that influence your predictions at the end of this one, boys. In their Premier League history, Man City have won more games, 31, more away games, 12, and scored more goals, 101, against Newcastle than they have versus any other opponent. Should we just end it there?
Yeah.
We just end it there. See you
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe now. Newcastle are unbeaten in their last 10 Premier League home games, winning 6 and drawing 4. However, Manchester City were the last side to beat them at St. James's Park. That was 3-2 in January. And finally, Manchester City are unbeaten in their last 28 league games, won 23, drew 5, with John Stones keeping that run going courtesy of a 98th minute equaliser against Arsenal last time out. 24 of these games have been in 2024, the longest run without a Premier League defeat from the start of a calendar year since Chelsea in 2008 with 26 games. So I don't want to say this is an uphill battle, boys, but Man City are rather good in going off our form. We're not the best at the minute. But Iain, is this one of those games where, you know, you've got to have a little bit of hope? And we tend to not do too bad against them in recent times. I know I've said, you know, we've only won 1 of our last 33 and there's been 5 draws. But those draws have been in recent times.
Mm. Yeah, I think there was the 3-3 recently. Can't remember if there was a 2-2 recently as well. But Man City are just a different animal. You said about hope. I think the only hope that will be at the ground is Craig Hope, because if you're tuning in for a positive match preview, you probably want to switch off now. We've got the views, don't care. It's going to be, but from my point of view anyway, it's going to be awful. You just hope, and I was saying this today, if you look at, obviously, performances have been very, very poor. Not against great teams either. You've got, I think, 2 of the bottom 3 You've got Fulham, who are, I think, in the top half, and then Spurs, who I think around mid-table might be in the top half. You haven't played anyone of great quality. So you hope, and I think we've discussed it previously, you're hoping that Man City roll into town and it's time for the players to sort of have a rocket up their arse, particularly and maybe put in at least a performance that you can be proud of. That being said, if someone said, would you rather play brilliantly and lose or play terrible and have points on the board, you're always going to choose the points on the board. But I'm just hoping, obviously, you've got a full week. I know Man City played last night at the time of recording. I think we were speaking before we went on. They've got a game next week, so they've got a little bit of a congestion of fixtures where we've had a full week. You're just hoping that Eddie Howe's got them well drilled. He's got somewhat of a plan for Man City, because at the minute it just tactically it doesn't look like we've got any sort of plan, both going forward and defensively. So it'll be a hard watch, but it is what it is, I suppose. Yeah,
and that congestion of fixtures, Nichol, could work in our favour. Obviously, you could argue we maybe needed the Wimbledon game to go ahead just to build a little bit of confidence, maybe start a bit of a run. But on the flip of that, Man City, I don't want to use the word depleted, because the players that can replace the injured players with, leaps and bounds above some of the quality, of some of the players that we have. But, they've got a long-term injury with Rodri. I think you were saying Kevin De Bruyne's on a 20% chance of starting. Nathan Ake is out. There's a few others. So, yes, it's Man City, but it's a depleted Man City who may be a bit leggy, who maybe you've got one eye on the Champions League midweek. There's a couple of things that are going in our favour when it comes to that sort of stuff.
Yeah. As Iain said, they played last night. They played Watford in the Carabao Cup last night. And I did think it was going to be a bit more of a convincing win. I didn't watch the whole game, but I watched the highlights, and it was only 2-1. And Watford seemed like they did okay, and I thought they were a bit unlucky with one of the refereeing decisions. I think they did play a bit of a second string, but as you say, Man City's second string is a decent Premier League top half team. I know John Stones and Kyle Walker played at the back, and they had Grealish playing as well and Foden. So they did have some of the first 11 in there. And they have got the Champions League next week as well. Although I think they would probably still prioritise us on Saturday because of the new Champions League format. Man City are expected to get through the next round. They're expected in the old format, but still. A couple of things like that are going our way. You've said the injuries as well. And I'm trying to remain positive. It is the early kickoff of the weekend as well. And you all know what happens on the early kickoff. Something normally happens out the unexpected. So let's go and hope, eh?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we can't talk about Manchester City without mentioning the man up front, Ian, Erling Haaland. I mean, obviously I mentioned him a little bit early, but, the bloke's just a beast. 5 games in the Premier League, 10 goals. I think he's had 2 hat-tricks.
Yeah,
26 shots, 19 shots on target. Now, normally, you'd be a bit confident because you have got Sven Botman and Jamal Lascelles who've done a bit of a number on him in the past, but we don't have either of them to fall back on. So it's Dan Burns' turn to do a number on Erling Haaland. Or what the hell do we do? What do we do against this Norwegian beast that's just seems to just score for fun? And like I said, 26 shots. I think that's more than we've had in 2 games. In the last 2 games.
Yeah, alluding to shots, I think there was a stat even before the Fulham game that Nick Pope had faced 100 plus shots, or it might have been just after the Fulham game, 100 plus shots already this season. So it's just a delight that we've got literally the most prolific goal scorer there is at the moment. Shy of trying to injure him, I don't know how you stop him. Even on his quiet games, particularly obviously the game previously against Arsenal. Yeah, I thought he started well. He obviously got a goal, but then I thought Arsenal defended quite well. Obviously, it went down to 10 men, so it was pretty much park the bus, and he couldn't really get in the game. is that your only chance of stopping him? Is literally getting 10 men behind the ball and trying to hit City on the counter? I don't know. I'm not, like you say, he's not been that prolific against us in his recent runouts. I think maybe he's only got 1 goal against us. But it's like you say, it's Erling Haaland. He's a threat for world-class defenders, let alone a very disorganised back four and a very open midfield. It's not going to be great, but like you say, having that full week's training, you're just hoping that Eddie Howe's working on something special to nullify him.
Yeah, and if we turn our attention to Newcastle, because believe it or not, although the commentator stats weren't great, we are a Newcastle podcast. Nichol, there's been a lot of talk about Eddie Howe changing his lineup quite a bit this season, both before the games and during the games with the substitutes he's been making at half time. Is this one of those games where you've got to think, you cannot play 4 at the back? You've got to maybe look at changing to a 5 at the back, or at the very least bringing a player like Sean Longstaff back into the fold, who you just got to tell him to stay deep and stay in his own half and protect that back 4 as much as you possibly can, and let a player like Bruno and Tonali go forward if they can, when they can, and break with the ball? Or is it a case of just get 11 players behind the ball and park the bus, as Ian suggested?
I think touching on Haaland as well, I think the best way maybe to stop him is to be compact, especially in the centre of the field. I think he's probably at his best when he's got space to run. That first goal against Arsenal last Sunday, where he was played through and he had sort of 20 yards to run through on goal. You're not going to stop him. I think where we've had success against him in the past and against Man City in general is when we have sort of stayed compact and made them sort of play sideways rather than forwards. So that midfield is the key area as well. So I think you might go to 3 centre halves and then wing backs of maybe Hall and Tino maybe for this one, because I think he's better at carrying the ball and going forward than Trippier is. In the middle, Longstaff could come back in. Although he hasn't been great recently, I do think Joe Linton's probably needed in this game as well for his sort of physicality and the work he does get through. And then he's not going to drop Bruno, is he? Even though he did have a poor game last week, especially being captain now. I just think it is a bit of a shame, as you said, for the Wimbledon game. It would have been nice to see Tonali get a start this week, because I'm not sure he's going to get one on Saturday. I don't think it's actually the game for him to come into straight away. But it's important to stay compact. And then I think towards the front end of the pitch, we might see Jacob Murphy and Gordon, I think, because of the pace element to get us up the pitch. Although Barnes has been in great form, he might be an option off the bench.
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously, you're thinking at the back, we're going to need a bit of pace to help protect centre-backs. And this could arguably be a good game for Lloyd Kelly to play as a third centre-back, because he's got that bit of pace. Granted, maybe his defence work isn't as good as we'd all like, but you've got to play the hand you've got. And unfortunately, they're the defenders we've got. And I don't think Emil Kraft's the paciest of defenders, really, Ian. I don't want to focus too much on the defence, but unfortunately, this is the type of game where I think it's going to be a lot of Newcastle defending. And we may see 1 or 2 attacks, but they're going to come on the break. That's just, I think, it's not going to be nice. It's not going to be pretty football. We are playing at home, but you just cannot see this going any other way than, men behind the ball and then break them when we can, which I think is the only way really we can expect to get anything from this game.
Yeah, and I think you've seen that in the game where I can't remember if Gordon scored 2 or he might have just scored the one where it was literally we went 1-0 down and then 2-1 up at half time. They both come from sort of hitting with a bit of pace, but my concern is obviously with Gordon himself. He would be one of your sort of bright sparks that you would look to try and get into the game and hit City on the attack, and he's not been performing both. He's quality. We know what he can. We know what he can provide. Obviously, we saw a glimpse of that against Wolves, where he went on that really good run, hit the post. But then since then, really, it's not even just been his quality, it's been more of his body language. That's been a little bit of a concern for me, because you don't mind if a player's trying and you hit the post or it goes the wrong side or keeper pulls off saves. Like, as long as you're getting in those positions and doing that, you don't mind if it's not sort of falling right for him. But to me, he just doesn't look like the same player as he was last season. And if there's other reasons for that, who knows? But it's like I say, it's going to be a very, very difficult game. And like you say, the only real way I can see us trying to get in behind is by sort of allowing them to come onto it and then hitting them on the break.
I think, we've got to be very careful here. We're not by any means writing this game off before it's even a ball's being kicked. And we're certainly not saying, it's guaranteed that Man City are going to win this game, Nichol. But, we can expect Man City to have a lot of the ball because that's the type of football they play. It's a very possession-heavy based game of football that Man City play. And to an extent, that suits us because we're not great on the ball, especially not this season. We give the ball away way too easy when we've got the ball too much. So, if you put on a pessimistic hat and look at this, with a positive spin, you could go into this and think, actually, them having a lot of the ball, great. Yeah, let them have the ball. Let us be compact, and then let us play how we like to play. What got us top 4 2 seasons ago? Let us play that football, and let us catch them by surprise.
Yeah, definitely. I think Decker said it on Monday night that this game could actually be a good one for us because we haven't been keeping the ball well this season. So by default, the other team are going to have the ball pretty much all the game. We're anticipating, so that's going to be perhaps better for us to just hit them on the break with the pace that we have. And we do have quality at the top end of the pitch. We just haven't seen it yet this season, but we know it's there. Like Iain said, Gordon and Isak both scored similar goals cutting in from the left against Man City last season. And yeah, I think Saturday is probably a bit of a big game for Anthony Gordon, really, because he's, we're at home, and as Iain said, his body language at Fulham away, and he didn't look himself. It wasn't good. It wasn't good to see, really, and it wasn't the Anthony Gordon that we've seen at Newcastle. It looked more like the Anthony Gordon that we signed from Everton a little bit last Saturday. So let's hope that he's firing on Saturday, and let's hope that being at home and having the crowd behind them is something that can help as well.
Yeah, and I think the crowd could play a big part in this, getting behind them, and I think also, I don't want to say it's inevitable that Man City will score, but they've scored in each of the last 31 Premier League games against Newcastle. I read that out at the start of this. It's kind of inevitable Man City are going to score. But the thing you want to be doing here is prolonging that for as long as you possibly can. The worst thing you can do against Man City, and we've seen this in games in the past against Man City, is let them score in the first, well, I don't want to say 20 seconds because that's happened against us before, but in the first 10 minutes, first 20 minutes, the first half, you want to stretch that out as long as you can, and obviously if you can for the whole game, you don't want them scoring, but if they're going to score, you want it to be as late as possible, because you've seen it before with Man City, they get agitated when they don't score, then they start making mistakes, and that's when you can capitalize. And there'll be a loose ball or a loose pass played, or they'll put in a straight tackle, and maybe a player will get booked or a second yellow card or something will happen which will turn the game on its head, and then the crowd will pick up on that, and the crowd will start to get a bit of confidence that we can get something from the game.
Yeah, I think with that as well, I think just a real good effort from players. Like I said, I picked out Gordon and said his body language, but there's numerous players that you could pick that they're just, I wouldn't say aren't interested. I think that's a bit strong, but just lack sheer confidence. And obviously, it's not a great game to go in, and I hate the term, but it's almost like you've got nothing to lose against Man City because everyone expects a defeat. So go in and give it a bit of effort, try and frustrate them. I mean, we're seeing the Arsenal game, they were down to 10 men. They stayed very, very compact. And I know they're a very, very well-drilled side, and I'm not saying for 1 second we're at Arsenal's level, but it took until the 97th minute for them to actually score that goal, where I think if you can stay compact, you can frustrate them and then hit them on the break. I think that's probably your best bet for Saturday.
Yeah. Is Nicholas, the performance more important than the result on Saturday?
I don't think so. I think, like we said at the start, like we'd take and we have been taking the points over the performances so far this season, because ultimately we've all been saying, yeah, this season hasn't been very good the way we're playing. But then the last point you make is, but we're in, we're sixth in the league or whatever. We've got this X amount of points. So I think that's the important thing. So, if we grind out a 0-0 or a 1-0 on Saturday, if we don't play that well, everyone's going to be absolutely buzzing. And you don't remember the performance, and you think, well, it was against Man City, the best team in the world, and yeah, so definitely the points. But it would be great to have both if we could.
Exactly. The history books will only show the score at the end of the day, and that's all that matters, really, when you boil it down to it. Right, you've probably noticed yet again, Daryl isn't here. That's 3 in a row. So the next time he's on this, he's going to sit with a massive dunce's hat on with a big D on it. Although you'll just argue that's D for Daryl, so maybe we'll have to think of maybe put T for twat. I don't know. But he is back with Ref Watch. So here he is with Ref Watch.
Hi everybody and welcome to Ref Watch for the game against Man City in the Premier League on Saturday lunchtime. Our man in the middle for this one this weekend will be the man himself from Down Under. It's Jared Gillett. Last seen as a VAR official in 2 games towards the end of last season. The Premier League game at Fulham in April, which we won 1-0, and then previously before that the VAR official for the Premier League game at Chelsea, which was a 3-2 loss. 3 NUFC games in the middle for Jared Gillett last season. We had the AFL Cup loss at Chelsea, which was a bit of a disappointing result, but we also had the FA Cup games at Fulham and Blackburn on the card as well, which were 2 good wins, especially if you were there all the way at the end of penalties in Blackburn, like I was with my friends Paul and the rest of the podcast group who were there as well. A long old night there in East Lancashire. Last game for Jared Gillett at St James's Park was way back in a corresponding fixture against Manchester City in August of 2022. Many of you may remember that was a 3-3 thriller. Famous for that image of Alan St-Maximin running away from Pep Guardiola, who was crouched with his head in his hands on the touchline as we raced into a 3-1 lead in that game. Record for Jared Gillett, we have his record for the 23-24 season, that's last season. He refereed 21 games in the Premier League last season, issuing 2 red cards and 98 yellow cards. And so far this season, we've seen him in 3 games in the Premier League, no red cards at the moment, and 19 yellows. And VAR for this one will be Stuart Atwell. Cheers, guys.
There you go.
I love Dasmo. He went off on a tangent about his own little travels to away games there. He's trying to get his own segment. He's trying to get his own podcast show, quite frankly. Stop it, Dasmo.
Maybe there'll just be Ref Watch weeks where you just have the Ref Watch show.
Of every Premier League game.
Of every Premier League game. I mean, maybe that's what he's going for. I don't know. But cheers, Daryl. We might see the next one if I let you on. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Definitely a forfeit coming his way.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. Boys, let's come to our predictions. Go easy. Iain, let's come to you first, mate.
I hate to be negative because I said mid pre-season that this was the season that I was going to try and remain positive. At the moment, I don't think there's a whole great deal other than the points on the board. Performance-wise, there's not been a lot of positives. Playing Man City, we're leaking chances. We've got Pope, who's made a couple of errors that you can forgive when they don't lead to goals, but they've led to 2 goals. We've got Erling Haaland. I'm gonna try and be positive. This is my positive prediction and say a 3-0 win to Man City. I cannot say anything other than that. If I was off my face on mushrooms or something, I'd go maybe sneak a 1-1 draw. If that happens, just for the record, I haven't been taking any narcotics. But yeah, I think it's inevitable. It's going to be a horrible afternoon, and it's going to be 3-0 City.
There we go. Oh, wow. Christ.
I'm glad you started
Well
with
done,
me,
Nicola.
so you can try and then pick it up from here.
I'm going to pick it up.
Come on then, Nichol.
Come
Go
on.
out of misery.
Right.
Go up.
I don't know where it's coming from, this optimism. Maybe it's because I'm
St.
going.
James's Park, mate. Saturday.
Yeah.
Set
Yes.
up again.
Yes. I'm going to go 2-1 Newcastle.
Oh,
Look, I thought Iain was going to go off on one there. Goal scorers, even more a bit left field. I'm going to go Dan Burn from a corner. And I don't know why I'm saying that because we never ever score from corners, but we're going to on Saturday.
there we go.
And I'm going to go with Isak to get one because he hasn't had one in a while, and he needs to get going this season and for my fantasy team. And then for Man City, I think Savinho is going to score. So I think he's actually made a really good start in the Premier League, and he looks a very good player.
There you go then. So if you've got Haaland in your FPL team, anybody, just don't captain him because Nichol says he's not going to score.
Transfer him out.
Yeah, transfer him out. Yeah, get your 14 million back, however much he is this year. I can't remember what it was. I put him in week 1. I'm not taking him out. I cannot see we're winning, unfortunately. But I don't think it's going to be a 3-0 drubbing, like what Iain says. I think it'll be quite a close game. I'm going to go for a repeat performance of the other season. I'm going to go for 3-3. I think we're going to take the lead.
Are you being on mushrooms?
No, and you can get them quite readily over here. You can go to the shop and buy them. No, I think it'll be I think we're gonna get the performance we've been crying out for this season, and we're going to play some good football. I think it's going to be a good old classic Barclays Premier League Saturday afternoon game. And this is going to get clipped to hell when we get absolutely annihilated after the first 20 minutes. But yeah, I think we will take the lead. I think we might even go 2-0 up, but I think Man City have got too much to hold on to that. But I think it'll end 3-3. Goal scorers, I'm not going to do a repeat unless Kieran Trippier is going to score a free kick. I'm not going to do a repeat performance of that other game. No, I think Tonali starts. I think he'll get one, and I'm going to go for another Harvey Barnes goal. And I think I'm with you, Nichol. I think Willock. I think Isak is well overdue a goal, and I think he will open the proceedings with a goal as well. And I'm going to go for a Haaland hat-trick. So get your triple captains on. So there you go. If anyone's watching FPL for FPL reasons, I don't know why, because we don't claim to be any FPL gurus. There you go. You don't know what to do now because two of us have said two different things. But yeah, I think 3-3. So we can't be accused of being negative or positive or anything because we've got a win, loss, and a draw. So there you go. Shove that in your pipe and smoke it. Comment section. But while you're in your comment section, let us know what your comments are going to be. If you're a Man City fan, let us know what you think it's going to be. You're probably going to say that we're all smoking crack and we're all out of our minds. And yeah, we shouldn't be on this, and we should have a bit of dose of reality. But let us know what you think your prediction's going to be.
I'm saying that, let alone Man City fans. I just hope. I think it'll go one of two ways. I'm sticking with the loss, but if we do put in a performance, I'm just hoping we can edge out maybe a 1-1 draw. I think that's as positive as you can get from me.
Kind of change it now.
No, I'm saying I'm sticking with the 3-0, but it'll be if we can. If I'm honest, I just want to see a good performance. I've kind of consigned myself to the fact that we will be beaten by Man City. Most teams this season will be beaten by Man City. As long as we can put in a good performance that you think, right, we've turned a little bit of a corner, and then that can then kick on the season. But saying that, we do have quite a difficult run coming up, bar the Everton game, which this will get clipped after we get beat 4-0 off Everton. But
right, you're not coming back here. You're not allowed back.
If we get a good performance on Saturday, then we've got the cup on Tuesday. I'd like to think we'll get through there. There's a good few days, and then you go on the league again. So.
Absolutely. Well, I don't know if we're going to be back for another match preview for the Wimbledon game because we've already done one, and it might just be a case of watch that one again and change your ground to St. James's Park when you're listening, and change the date to when's the Tuesday and
1st of October.
Yeah, October. So we might do another one. I haven't decided because it's quite a quick turnaround and getting people available and that sort of stuff. But we might do, we might not. I'll see how we're feeling. But we might just I might just edit the Wimbledon one and add some extra words and
Just
we'll
put a disclaimer in at the start of it.
Put a disclaimer in, but we'll see what happens. But we will also be back. Iain, we're doing Canny Chatter next week.
Yes.
So that'll be back. We'll have match reactions to this Man City game. It might be better than the match reaction we did last time for the Fulham game, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there. It depends on the result. But if you've liked this content, scroll down from it, hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more of our content in your YouTube feed. And if you want to know when our content goes live, hit the notification bell and you'll get a notification on your device of choice. And if you want to go one step further, you can become a member. It's $2.99 a month, and that gets you early access to videos like this one, as well as exclusive access to stuff like Canny Chatter, which you get as video access if you are a member, as well as 30 minutes of extra content at the end, and also early access to videos and access to the Telegram group. And if you're listening on the audio, just give us a 5-star rating on your podcast consumption app of choice. Boys, I'm not looking forward to this one, I'm not going to lie, but we'll see what happens. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for joining us on your Wednesday evening, and thank you for listening. We'll see you all in the next one. Wave, everybody. We're on video. Bye.